Pokemon is a franchise loved and played by millions of people around the world. However, its competitive scene is a little bit less known. The cards, video game, and spin off games like Pokken and Pokemon Unite have thousands of competitors, but one stands out as being one of the hardest esports of all time, that being Pokemon VGC. Today, we'll take a quick look into what VGC is, how to compete in it, as well as what a format or a regulation is. I left timestamps throughout the video, so if you already know something I'm yapping about or want to learn more about a specific topic, feel free to hop around. Let's start simple and work our way up. What is Pokemon VGC? VGC is a way to play the Pokemon video game in a doubles format, with each player having 6 Pokemon in a party and bringing 4 to each fight in a best of 3 format. A common question I see a lot is why is doubles played instead of singles when the entire game is played in a singles format, in which there are a few reasons. The more complex of the answers is that doubles allows for intricate combos and precise team buildings to flourish, since in singles, each Pokemon only needs to do one job really well or a few jobs pretty okay. But in doubles, your Pokemon still needs to do those core jobs, but it can also assist a teammate in theirs or counter an opponent's job. Let's take Clefable as an example. In singles, she's really bulky, can output respectable damage, slow opponents down with Thunder Wave, and stall and pass recovery with Wish, on top of already being a great pivot tool due to her natural bulk, since her ability Unaware allows her to ignore stat boosts and sweepers. All these things still apply in VGC, however, she can also use tools like Follow Me to take focus off of a teammate and redirect some damage. This means that Clefable not only works as a wall, but also as a great support Pokemon. Obviously, this is only one example that I nitpicked out of the thousands, but there's tons of strategies that open up when doubles is used compared to singles. Some notable strategies that I see go around are Hyper Offense, which are really strong teams that are really frail, but like to kill the opponent as fast as possible, Trick Room teams that use Trick Room to reverse the speed order, letting their slow, bulky Pokemon attack first, and Perish Trap teams. I actually have Perish Trap playing in the background of this video. Wolfie Glick is piloting it, and it's a really cool watch. I'll leave a link to the full VOD in the description in case you do want to see more. The less complex answer is, singles can lead to long, stally games or really fast sweeps due to the nature of one Pokemon walling a team and slowly withering it away, or a Pokemon being able to set up a handful of stat boosts and OHKO everything in its wake. Doubles doesn't have this issue quite as often, since if something looks like it'll wall your team, it has to wall 2 attacks at a time. And if something is setting up, you can just shoot it down with 2 moves, normally crippling it before it can get anything going. Now that we know why we play doubles instead of singles, let's talk about the competitive circuit. The main competitive circuit is hosted by the Pokemon Company, and expands worldwide. If you're looking to compete, a lot of cities have something called a League Challenge, where you can compete locally, normally with a pretty small entry fee. These also normally come with a small amount of prizes and some championship points to boot. There are also League Cups. These aren't quite as frequent, but operate in a similar way, rewarding more points than a challenge, but they might cost a little bit more as well. After that, there's Regionals, which are much larger and much less frequent. These normally cost a lot and are in a really big city, and they have tons of rewards as well as a chance to just win an automatic invite to Worlds. They also normally come with a convention-esque experience. I used to go to these a lot whenever I was younger, and I think they're a great experience even if you're not competing. After that, there's the international challenges. These happen in the USA, Europe, and Latin America once a year each. They're the largest events besides Worlds and have thousands of players compete in them. They offer massive prizes and are normally a must to anyone trying to qualify for Worlds. Speaking of Worlds, Worlds is hosted every year in August. Players qualify through the events, earning prizes and points all previously mentioned, and meeting certain requirements. Worlds is always huge, with thousands of dollars in prizes given out to each winner, exclusive merch, and a massive production. However, not everyone is able to attend events like these, especially if you don't live near an active scene. To make up for this, Pokemon hosts something called online challenges, which can be played from home, and grassroots organizers host free online brackets for players to compete in. I also host online events on occasion for Pokemon, and I have a few planned, so if you're interested in that, you should definitely join our Discord so you don't miss the upcoming events. the link's in the description of this video. For our last topic, let's look at what a format or regulation is. The terminology for these have changed over time with updates, but currently the official term is regulation. These format changes keep the meta fresh by changing what Pokemon are and are not allowed. The most common formats are regional decks, which is when Pokemon captured in the game are allowed to compete, without Pokemon from outside games. This also means that crazy legendaries are banned as well. This is the lowest power level a format can get, with Pokemon like Garchomp, Tyranitar, and Arcanine feeling pretty strong in these. On occasion, you also can see weird low-tier Pokemon sneak into these formats as well. Most notably, recently Murkrow in Scarlet and Violet was really dominant in the early regulations. The second format is national decks, similar to regional decks. Box art legendaries, also known as restricted Pokemon, are still banned, but sub-legendaries like Tapu Koko, Tornadus, and Urshifu are all allowed. Pokemon available in DLCs or transferred from other games are also normally allowed here, expanding potential team comps and power creeping the meta ever so slightly. Pokemon commonly seen in national dex formats include Incineroar, Landorus, and even Hisui and Arcanine, as well as the Pokemon I mentioned earlier. The third format is called Single Restricted. This is a slightly newer format, but it's pretty similar to the last one, with a small change. In Single Restricted, you still have access to all the Pokemon from national decks, as well as one restricted legendary. Since you only do get one per team, this leads to teams building themselves around the restricted and unique Pokemon showing up to protect their team archetype that normally wouldn't be there in another type of format. Some examples of this are Clefairy and Minshao being used to protect Caloric's Shadow, and Comfey showing up next to Terapagos on occasion. Our final format is an extension of the third called Double Restricted. Double Restricted is, well, you guessed it, when you're allowed to bring two restricteds instead of just one. Most players opt to bring Pokemon that covers each other's weaknesses and want to play in similar field states. For example, Kyogre loves fighting fire and ground types, that Zacian Crowned would rather not have to deal with, while Crowned Zacian resists grass moves that players would normally love to click into Kyogre. Both these Pokemon also benefit from Tailwind and Rain, giving Kyogre an offensive boost and helping Zacian take fire-type moves that he might not survive otherwise. There's lots of examples of these combinations, and they vary from year to year. One I really enjoyed watching was whenever Wolfie used Rayquaza as well as Primal Kyogre to make some really cool and interesting plays with his Airlock ability. That just about wraps up what VGC is. If you've made it this far, thanks bunches for checking the video out and giving it a chance. Next week, we'll have a video talking about team building, and a video essay coming out soon, which talks about what makes VGC so difficult to get into. So if you're interested in those topics, you should definitely subscribe. I have lots of Pokemon content planned for this year, as well as content talking about other games that we love to play in the Last Talk Discord community. You should definitely join it, links in the description. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now.